a pretty good position. Maybe not necessarily the depth the team would want, but the number one guy has played well and could be improving in 2016. We bring in John Cassillo from Noon's Magician to help us sort out the position. And Eric Dungey, nice season last year, not prolific numbers, but he did get hurt, missed those last 3 games, and it was his freshman season. So running for 7 touchdowns, or rather 5 touchdowns, throwing for 11 with only the 5 interceptions, a decent showing out of Dungey.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Dungey wasn't expected to be the starter going in. I mean, Terrell Hunt was the guy. Unfortunately, you know, he ended his season and unfortunately career for the 2nd straight season last year. This time in the opener, heartbreaking for him, but you know what? Dungey came in and really kind of grabbed the system, understood. I mean, the system, admittedly, anyone who watched Syracuse football last year saw that the system was rough around the edges, didn't have a ton of planning going into it. But I mean, Dungey did, I think, an admirable job in his first college snaps, really kind of doing a little bit of improvisation. I felt like he grew week over week. And if it wasn't for those injuries, you probably were looking at a guy who put up, you know, 2,400 passing yards and maybe 500 rushing yards, which to me, that's pretty good for anybody, not just a freshman.
And there's so many reasons, John, to expect him to be a better player in 2016, with the entire year as generally the starting quarterback, getting the reps during the spring with the team minus the coaches for the most part in the summer. And then, of course, that concentrated time in August to get ready for 2016. So that being said, let's expect him to really hit the playbook and really put in his reps and do a nice job in not making the same mistake twice. What would you like to see him do better coming up this fall?
Well, I think luckily the one thing he needs to improve in the most, which is I think running smarter and not taking as many hits. Dino Babers' offense kind of is designed for that, you know, to be cut down as much as possible. You're looking at, you know, quick passes, quick release, quick reads. That's going to help a lot. Last year, I felt like the offense would vacillate between, you know, maybe quarterback run first and then pass second to quarterback run first, second, third, and then maybe passing comes in there fourth. I think now this is going to be a pass first offense, an offense that, you know, I mean, Dungey's put on some good weight. He's put on about 10, 15 pounds of muscle this summer, which is awesome. Means he could take hits better, but at the same time, like, this offense is going to be designed for him to use his speed, not to necessarily, you know, scramble for 20 and then get, you know, hit pretty hard in the open field, but it's to scramble out of the pocket and complete a nice throw on the run.
John, I don't know about you, but earning the nickname The Officer isn't necessarily, you know, that sounds really prestigious. I don't know what Zack Mahoney did to earn or possibly just be given that nickname, but he obviously had to play the last 3 games of the season, got some spot starts and some work before that. What jumps out based on his performance is 46% completion percentage, awful.
Yeah.
But against LSU in a game against a team that's one of the more talented teams in college football, of course, we know that Syracuse stayed in that game and is a 1-score game most of the fourth quarter, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick against LSU, and then finishing off for Dungey down the stretch against NC State and Boston College, 3-to-1 TD to pick ratio in those 2 games. So Mahoney, not the most accurate, but he did somewhat take care of the football and produce some points.
I think with Mahoney, I mean, he's not a scholarship player at the moment, at least. He's still a walk-on. He came in last year. He was very much an option-type quarterback. Throwing's not his forte. And that's, I think he's a very intriguing player in this system because, you know, God forbid, you know, Dungey goes down again. I'm very curious to see if Mahoney's really the option. I mean, I'm assuming he worked on his throwing in the offseason. This is not going to be an option attack like we saw last year. But no matter what, you got to commend the kid for what he did last year and what he could bring to the table this year. I mean, again, we're not going to see an option, but if he can throw a little bit better, I felt like he was a smarter runner than Dungey, not necessarily as dynamic, but again, didn't put himself in the situations to, you know, get hurt the same way. And you saw it against LSU, you saw it against Clemson as well, that he just seemed like he had a greater command over what was demanded of him and what he could do and couldn't do for his team.
And so, John, the future, at least at this point, the way things shake out, seems to be in the hands of Rex Culpepper, who could also get some playing time and at least be a third stringer this year.
Yeah, I mean, I see the Culpepper probably moves up into that second slot, and to be honest, hopefully red shirts this year, just because I feel like for most quarterbacks, you're going to want that red shirt year. Dino Babers doesn't use a playbook, but just to learn the offense, get used to college life, there's just a lot of adjustments that need to happen. So I think Culpepper probably goes into the season as number 2. But yeah, I think if we're lucky, he doesn't see the field much. And, a mix of Mahoney and Wilson kind of, come in relief for Dungey.
John Cassillo from Noon's Magician helping us out to break down Syracuse personnel position by position as we work through the roster. Appreciate the time, John.
Of course, Mark.